The town of Redstone baked beneath a white sky, heat rising off the dirt like breath from a sleeping beast. The wind carried grit and dry grass through empty streets, and the buildings, all wood and sun-bleached paint, stood quiet under the weight of another long day. Inside the general store, it was cooler. Dim light filtered through dusty windows, catching on glass jars and the worn edges of shelves. The smell was familiar: leather, coffee, old wood, and earth. Samuel Briggs, now 65 and steady as a freight horse, had run the store for over 20 years, and it showed in the polish on the counter and the dents in the floorboards. Folks came to him not just for flour, bullets, or soap, but for advice, stories, or even silence. His wife, Martha, was the sharper edge of things. She worked the books and kept the store running smooth from the back room. Her voice could hush a drunk or calm a crying child, and her eyes missed nothing. She wore her hair pinned and practical, and when she smiled, rare but genuine, it softened every line on her face. And outside, just off the porch, on a wooden platform, stood the statue, tall as a man, carved from weather-darkened wood. The figure of a warrior woman stood with bow drawn, arrow nocked, facing down the street like she meant to protect it forever. No one knew who carved her, no name, no date. Sam found her buried to the waist in a dry canyon ravine, cleaned her up, and gave her a place by the store. Since then, she'd stood watch without shifting an inch. Each morning, Sam would step out with a dry cloth, gently wiping down the statue, running the cloth along its carved wood, dusting off the grit that had gathered, finishing with a long look at her face. "Good as new," he'd murmur, before heading back inside. Folks joked. "She's his second wife," they said. Martha didn't mind. "At least she's quiet," she'd reply. And Sam would smile and nod. "She watches over me." And somehow, that always seemed true. It happened just as the last light faded from Redstone's streets. Inside Sam Briggs' general store, the quiet of evening wrapped the old wooden walls. Sam stood behind the counter, locking up, the smell of saddle soap and flour still clinging to the air. Then, the front door exploded inward, slamming against the shelves with a crack. 3 men stormed in, dusty, snarling, armed. The warm glow of twilight snapped cold. Boone led, tall, lean, eyes like black coals drowned in whiskey, and a scar twisted his mouth into a permanent sneer. His revolver was already raised. "Coins," he growled. "All of it." Sam raised his hand slowly. "No need for guns." Boone grinned, greedy, but Daylight's narrow and twitchy glance passed Sam toward the window. "Fancy thing. Worth something, I bet." He meant the statue outside, the Apache warrior woman, standing on her platform, bow drawn in eternal silence. They brought ropes, moved to drag her off. Sam stepped between them, straight-backed, unshaken. "Leave her, Sanyo." Boone barked. "Move, old man." Sam replied firmly. "I said no." "Yep." Shoved him. Sam shoved back. Suddenly, bam! Sam fell, blood splattered on the carved cheek of the statue. They managed a few steps, dragging the statue, then stopped. The air shifted, heavy, still. Boone, muttering, "Leave it." Immediately, they ran without looking back. Martha found him just after dawn. The front door of the store hung open, creaking in the wind. Sam lay crumpled at the base of the platform outside, his shirt soaked in blood. The coins were gone, the till empty, and above him, the statue stood unmoved, her bow aimed out into the street. A splatter of blood stained her attire. Martha knelt beside her husband, hands shaking. She touched his face, and then the sobs came deep, broken. She clutched him, cried into his chest, whispered his name, like a prayer she couldn't finish. Later, they'd buried him beneath the willow beside their home. The town gathered, quiet, grieving. Words were said, tears fell. And then life, as it always does, carried on. But not everything stayed buried. Outside the shuttered store, The blood on the statue's face darkened. Her wooden form, once still, lifeless, began to creak. Eyes, once dull and glassy, now shimmered with a soft, ethereal blue light, looking cool and haunting, as though drawn from the depths of the night sky. A low crack rang through the air as she stepped off the platform, bow in hand, as silent as the grave, boots scraping wood. Vengeance had awoken.